This segment is from the Piano Inspires podcast, Season 2, Episode 9, featuring Sean Chen with host Sarah Ernst.
So I'm very curious. I mean, you went on to participate in the Van Cliburn. Were you drawn to competitions early on? Was that something that really motivated you and that you enjoyed?
I don't know if it. So I remember one instance I was doing competition in California, just high school when I was in high school, or maybe it was earlier. Maybe I was in middle school. It was a concerto competition. I played Chopin E minor first movement, and I did not win, and I was really sad about it.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were kind of like, "Well, if you can't handle it, then don't do the competition. Like we're not forcing you to do it." And I kind of thought about it. I was like, okay, yeah, I wanted to do this competition. And I guess, happens when you don't
have
win.
to accept the results,
yeah.
right?
And so I think that, it seems like trite to talk about it like that. But I think it's important to tell yourself, to like actually concretely tell yourself this. Like, yes, I want to do this for whatever reason, whether it's because your career or you just enjoy doing competitions or you want something to work towards. But along with that comes, disappointment. Maybe, possibly, probably, most likely. And so I always, my Edward would sign me up for local stuff, maybe some a little bit bigger, some regional, some when I was a little older, some international, junior competitions. Right. And then when I was in conservatory, I made it sort of a point to do at least one big one a year, especially because they're usually in the summer and you get to travel and see these places,
right.
In Japan or in Korea. In Europe. So I sort of used them actually as an excuse, both one to travel and two to learn pieces, which is, I don't recommend students do that nowadays, but I was kind of like, I used these competitions as motivation to learn new pieces for it.
Right.
Which, like I said, I wouldn't recommend students do these days, but I it was what kind of kept me excited again, just like with Edward, just like learning new pieces that I wanted to learn. That was what kept me excited. So yeah, and I did lots of competitions, and I think certain people are just gifted, I think, at doing it, or their teachers prepared them well. But I had to spend a lot of time figuring out what worked for me, from everything from like preparation to repertoire choices to how to ramp up preparing for them. So it was good that I did a lot of them, because I don't think I definitely wouldn't have been successful just like starting Cliburn.
I mean, it's such an intense competition with so many rounds to it, right?
So a lot of it is just like learning about yourself and learning how you react under pressure. And also, one of my other theories is that a lot of these competitions have similar juries. These professors and musicians and pianists, they get asked to judge all around. And part of it is also getting them used to your musicality. The more you do competitions, and if you perform, I mean, if you bomb, that's one thing. But if you play well, but you didn't win, or you didn't get past this round, but you're trying to show your musicality and stuff, I think people start to get used to like how you see music and how you feel it and how you play. And I have a little inkling that might be what was going on too. Obviously I was getting better, but I was definitely more consistently getting to later rounds in competitions as I was getting closer to the Cliburn.
Yeah. So do you think then that process for yourself then also helped your kind of creation or exploration of your own voice in that way as a pianist? Or do you think it was more people getting to know who you are versus yourself?
I think in terms of the competitions, it was more the latter. I mean, when you're practicing and you're working with your professors and teachers and you're just doing your normal practice, that's where you're doing your exploration. You do have to play the game a little bit with competitions, I think. It depends. You have to know what kind of competitions, like historically. I wouldn't overthink it, but for example, I did some stuff for the American Pianists Awards, repertoire-wise, that I would not do for the Cliburn, that I did not do for the Cliburn.
What would be an example of
like
that?
Like playing my own transcription of the valse. So I did that for APA. Did not do that for a Cliburn. But what I did do with Cliburn is I played the Proshushka arrangement, Stravinsky. But I didn't put it on the program, but I added stuff from the orchestral version into my performance of Proshushka. And so, I can only stifle my own voice so much before, to a certain extent. But yeah, and so you do have to kind of be aware of these things.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to sacrifice your musical integrity or voice, but you can tailor it to situations. And it's the same for, when we're performing just in general for different presenters. Sometimes they come to you asking for certain things,
specific things,
or
yeah.
certain styles that they know their audience likes, and you can't, be like, no, I want to play, what I want to play. Yeah.
Be sure to listen to the full episode on our website, pianoinspires.com, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.